Hi, everybody. Dr. Bill Diamond here. Thank you for joining me. People have often asked me, hey, tell us about how you do a critical incident stress debriefing. How do you reach out, often virtually, across the miles, across the country, across the world, with a group of people who have lost a leader, a colleague, a friend, or there's been some other big event. So we're going to use the example of someone passing, but it could be any number of those things, even talking about a merger and acquisition. But let's think in terms of a case where a beloved employee has passed. How do we spend that hour? Well, people log into a platform and we begin with this idea of getting people up to speed, number one, with the facts of what has happened. Many times people come into a session like this a day or two after this person has passed, and they have a lot of questions, and many people are afraid to ask. And so, as much as you're able, you kind of bring people up to speed and say, hey, some of you have wondered, this is what happened. I can tell you this, I can't tell you that. But as much as you can tell them appropriately, that will greatly set the table to give people a sense of control, that now they know what has happened. They heard this person died, they didn't hear any of the details. You give them as much as you can, and maybe you say there's more coming, but that will settle people's nerves to a great degree. And then what we do, number two, is we do a group of questions surrounding them processing what has happened. And the first one is just to share any feelings or memories you have. People will talk about when they knew this person and how they knew him or her and what happened and what they did. And this can be a real cathartic time. There might be a lot of people wanting to share or not a lot. We have a term called compassionate presence, just knowing that an opportunity is provided like this live or virtually, and maybe even some follow-up one-on-one sessions in either domain. People feel cared for. So sometimes we get a lot of takers, sometimes we don't, but we do know that people remember that you had some type of response, even if they didn't attend or seek out any one-on-one support. The third thing I like to ask is, hey, who's supporting you right now? You may have people that support you at work that instantly understand the situation, knew the person who passed away, and you may also have friends and family that may not know the person at all, but they know you. I want you to listen, especially though, for those people who may not have anybody that they can feel comfortable talking to outside of work and may not feel comfortable. This will help to identify those folks, and maybe you can reach out as a leader or a colleague to those folks who don't have as much support. And then we want to look out for those people are struggling more. And who are those people? Well, it's interesting. The first one, of course, are those who are closest in friendship or work together with the person who passed away. That makes sense. But there's also a group of people that may or may not be that uh, close to them as a friend, but they can really relate to their age, their lifestyle, their health risks, their medical issues, and say, wow, this hits close to home. This could be me. I have the same medical situation. I am doing much the same thing. This is, if anything, a wake up call, but it rocks me because I can really relate to this person. He could be my brother, my sister, etc. Also, look out for anybody who says, I've had multiple losses over the last few months. This is the third one. This could be a huge thing for them, not only because they know them, but just another loss to process. We know that younger people tend to have a stronger reaction because they may not have had as much experience with grief. Not always the case, but we want to be on the lookout for our younger employees. We know anybody who has a lot going on with stress, depression, a child that they're dealing with, anything else, that this could put them over the edge, if you will. And then there are some folks that have anticipatory grief. They know they're about to lose a loved one, their parent or their spouse or someone close to them. And this just reminds them that this is coming, and that can engender a lot of feelings too. So you never know who is going to have a big reaction. We also have people who have a delayed reaction because they weren't there for the notification. They've been on vacation and they come back and you've already had your meeting, and now they're just finding out a week or so later, and they're going to have their own reaction after everybody else has processed some. Number five, it's good to ask, hey, how, if you know already, will you honor your colleague? Maybe this is a point where the leader tells you, I've been in touch with the family. We've got a service coming. It'll be open to all. Or I talked to the family. They prefer to do a private ceremony. So we're going to have a day of remembrance right here, or we're going to do this event. Some people like to do more casual events. Sometimes it's as simple as doing what they love to do, maybe going bowling or going out for a beverage or doing something fun, going to the beach. Other times it's an act of service. And I really like this approach where they think about the charity that person's interested in, the ERG, and they do a work day or a charitable day with animals or those who are unhoused. And they serve in the honor of the person they've lost. That can really bring a lot of healing. And so, number six, I like to also talk about at this point, what you may be feeling in the next 2 weeks. We always say in the first 2 weeks, normal is a very wide road. Grief and depression can look very similar, and sometimes there's an overlap. People may have depression and grief, but it can look really similar. We look for those people after the first couple weeks that are still really struggling. Most people after 2 weeks are able to work a little bit more, focus a little bit more, but we want to provide referrals to the EAP and other counseling opportunities for those who need it, not only today, but maybe in a week or two. And then number seven, we want to think about who we're concerned most about. Maybe there's somebody on the call who hasn't spoken up and you're concerned about them. Maybe there's somebody who couldn't attend, who has had a lot of connection with that person who passed or has a lot going on. And you just want to mention, hey, I'm concerned about this person. And yes, I am too. Let's reach out. Or how are you doing, Mary? How are you doing, Bob? I know you haven't spoken up. We're here for you. That can be a great thing. And then just three more things. Number eight, I ask people, hey, how will you care for yourself the rest of the day? I've asked who's on your team, but I'm going to ask, how will you care for yourself after this meeting? How will you care for yourself for the next couple of days? Listen for those who don't speak up. Listen for those who don't have anything they are planning to do to support themselves. We've had very big meetings of 100 people, and we've had very small meetings of just a handful. Depending on the size, we will hear from a representative sample of people. We may hear more, we may hear less. And then I want the people on the call to be sensitive to you if you're a leader. You've been arranging this meeting, this debrief, you've been interfacing with the family. Maybe you're getting involved with financial and other ways to support. You've been letting people know, and you may actually have a delayed reaction. I want people to be aware that after you've set everything up and taken care of everybody else, we care about you too. So I will put people on alert to reach out to you a little bit and check in to see how you're doing. And then I like to end on a note of hope. I do believe a note of hope is warranted. We talk about post-traumatic stress, but I like to talk about post-traumatic growth. A loss like this will have an impact on an organization, and often not just negative. Many people will vow to be more relational, to be more authentic, to check in with each other, to share how much they care, to support, and even to use words like, I love you, and I see you, and I'm going to, hug my kids and reach out to my colleagues and be there more. People vow to be more real, more human, more loving, and that's a good thing. It clarifies our values. Sometimes when this happens, we make a vow to change our health or change our life or to do things differently, to not wait. It can build our resiliency to go through this and to grieve well. It can give us some opportunities to change those things we need to change, to go to the doctor, to reach out, to support each other, to check in with those who are hurting. And it can tap into our spiritual selves. If you come from a spiritual background, I come from a Christian background, you could tap into that, but you may not come from a faith tradition. You might be able to tap into some of your deepest values. It can help you remember who you are. So folks, that's some of what we do when we do a virtual and live debrief. Sometimes we offer virtual and or live one-on-one sessions afterwards for free therapy to get people pointed in their direction and send them to some additional help. Sometimes we don't. We don't always go through all these questions. It depends on the nature of what has happened. But this is a good comprehensive list of the types of ways we support organizations that are struggling with a loss, and we can do it on short notice. We want to get that help available in the next 24, 48 hours usually, and then sometimes we check back in. Well, thanks for watching. This is Dr. Bill Diamond with you today, and I hope this is giving you a little insight of how you can support your employees through a time of loss or a critical incident of any kind. We'll see you next time.